They told you this is evil, but it's your extremely rare shadow power. There's something deep inside you that you've been told to fear, something you've tried to hide, suppress, or fix because the world told you it was wrong. Maybe it shows up as intense emotion, a burning desire, a wild imagination, a rebellious instinct, or a fierce inner knowing. Maybe it's the part of you that's always been too much or too different. Maybe you've been shamed for it, punished for it, or even told it was evil. But what if I told you that this exact part of you, the one you've been taught to silence, is actually the key to your power? What if the thing they told you was your flaw is your extremely rare shadow gift? You were never meant to fit in. That's why everything inside you resists conformity. You were born with codes in your spirit that don't match the template of this world. And because of that, from a young age, you were labeled emotional, aggressive, disruptive, overly intense, too sensitive, too dark, too curious. But what no one told you is that these so-called flaws are actually indicators of dormant power, raw, primal, and ancient. And the reason they've been demonized is because they threaten the systems that profit from your suppression.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Think about it. Why is anger labeled as dangerous? Why is desire considered sinful? Why is rebellion punished? Why is darkness feared? Because each of these is a gateway, a portal into the deeper layers of your consciousness, into parts of yourself that carry the codes of transformation. Anger, when alchemized, becomes boundary. Desire, when understood, becomes alignment. Rebellion, when refined, becomes innovation. Darkness, when embraced, becomes truth. And you were born to walk between these worlds and bring back the medicine. But first, you have to reclaim the parts of yourself that were exiled. Let me ask you this. When was the first time you were made to feel wrong for being yourself? Was it when you spoke your truth too loudly? When you questioned authority? When you felt emotions too deeply? That moment wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual. It was the beginning of your fragmentation, the moment you were taught that certain parts of you had to be hidden to be loved. But those exact parts, the ones you buried, are where your rare shadow power lives. And until you reclaim them, you can't fully step into your purpose. This isn't about indulging your darkness for the sake of chaos. This is about understanding that your shadow is not evil. It's unintegrated power, and when you learn how to hold it, feel it, and use it with sacred intent, it becomes your greatest ally. That's what they never wanted you to know, that the very part of you they tried to silence is the part of you that can see through illusion, sense energy, break spells, and shift timeline. You are not broken, you are encoded. And your decoding begins when you stop running from yourself. Have you ever noticed that the more you try to be good, the more drained you feel? That's because good is often a code word for obedient, agreeable, and convenient. But you weren't born to be convenient. You were born to be catalytic. Your presence alone stirs things. People project onto you. They get triggered by you. You walk into a room and the energy changes. That's not a problem. That's a sign. You carry shadow frequencies that activate whatever is hidden in others, and often they'll reject you because they're rejecting what they're not ready to face in themselves. But you, if you choose to step into your role, are here to hold that mirror fiercely, lovingly, powerfully. But make no mistake, this path is not easy. To reclaim your shadow power is to walk alone at times, to be misunderstood, to be feared. But it is also to be free, free from the lies, free from the masks, free from the need to please or perform. Because once you reclaim what was once called evil, you no longer need validation. You become sovereign. You become a force. You become you, unfiltered, untamed, and unforgettable. Now, here's the most important truth I can offer you. The reason your shadow power is rare is because few have the courage to claim it. It's easier to stay in the light, easier to follow the script. But for those of us who feel the call, who sense there's something more beneath the surface, the shadow is not a threat, it's a treasure, a frequency, a flame. And when you learn to hold it without shame, you unlock levels of consciousness, creativity, and clarity that others can't even comprehend. So I ask you now, are you willing to remember who you were before they told you who to be? Are you willing to unlearn the fear, the guilt, the shame that was wrapped around your rawness? Are you willing to look at the part of you they called evil and say, I see you, I remember you, and I'm ready to walk with you again, because that's where it begins. Not with light, but with love. Love for the parts of yourself that were exiled, demonized, and buried alive. You've always had this power. You've just been waiting for permission to claim it. And now you have it. Not from me, from your soul, from the part of you that never forgot. And once you unlock it, everything changes. Your intuition sharpens, your energy strengthens, your voice deepens, your presence expands. You become a living portal. You stop chasing purpose and start embodying it. Because purpose isn't something you find, it's something you remember when you're finally whole again. This is the beginning, the first spiral, the moment of return. And what comes next is even deeper. The forbidden frequencies, how to access the powers hidden behind your most judged emotions. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about the emotions. The ones you were taught to avoid, to silence, to fear. The ones that people label as low vibrational, toxic, or even dangerous. Rage, lust, jealousy, grief, obsession. These are the forbidden frequencies, the emotional territories we've been taught to demonize. But what if they're not signs of weakness, sin, or moral failure? What if these emotions are ancient allies? What if, instead of being problems to fix, they are actually portals to your power? Portals to the very shadow gifts that can awaken your highest potential. You've been conditioned to believe that spiritual growth is about becoming calm, clean, peaceful, and light-filled. But real spiritual evolution is not sanitized. It's raw, it's chaotic, it's messy, it's real. And if you continue to bypass what lives in your emotional underworld, you cut yourself off from the very frequencies that were designed to unlock your spiritual codes. Let's start with rage. We're told to fear it, to suppress it, to breathe through it and let it go. But rage, at its core, is sacred fire. It is the frequency of violated truth. It rises when your boundaries have been crossed, when your energy has been stolen, when your soul screams, no more. Rage is the guardian of your power, and when you suppress it, you suppress your voice, your clarity, and your ability to act. But when you befriend your rage, when you sit with it, listen to it, and understand its root, it becomes a sword of discernment. It shows you where you've been giving away your energy. It reveals the places you've abandoned yourself, and it returns you to your sovereignty. Now let's talk about jealousy. Another emotion we're told is ugly. But what if jealousy is actually a map? What if it's not about envy, but about misdirected desire? When you feel jealous, it's not because you're evil, it's because you're seeing a reflection of your own unlived potential. Someone else is embodying something your soul knows you're capable of, and your shadow is alerting you that you've forgotten. Jealousy becomes toxic only when you project it outward, but when you pull it inward and ask, what part of me is ready to rise, it becomes a compass pointing directly toward your next level. And then there's grief. The heavy, aching, soul-wrenching grief that most people try to numb or avoid. But grief is not weakness. Grief is alchemical. It is the sacred process by which you release old timelines, identities, attachments, and illusions. Every time you grieve, you are shedding density. You are making room for a new frequency. Grief is the shadow's sacred cleansing. And if you allow it, if you don't fight it but surrender into it, it will stretch your heart wide enough to hold higher love, deeper wisdom, and greater compassion. These are not just emotions, they are frequencies, and each one holds a specific spiritual technology. Lust, for example, is not just about sex, it's about creative life force. The energy that gives birth to galaxies also lives in your body, and when you suppress it because you've been told it's sinful, you cut yourself off from your own divinity. But when you honor it, when you channel lust into art, into vision, into embodiment, it becomes magnetic. It becomes divine magnetism, shadow magnetism, the ability to attract not from force, but from frequency. So why have these frequencies been demonized? Why have entire spiritual systems been built around controlling them? Because they are the rawest expressions of your soul's power, and anything that can't be controlled becomes a threat to systems built on obedience, guilt, and shame. But you, if you're hearing this, are here to reclaim what was taken. You are here to walk into the forbidden temples of your own emotion and retrieve the treasures you left behind. This is the work of shadow mastery, not to indulge your emotions unconsciously, but to integrate them intentionally, to feel everything fully without becoming consumed, to listen to the language beneath the feeling, to ask, what is this emotion trying to show me about my power, my truth, my path? And then to respond not with fear, but with clarity, because once you unlock these forbidden frequencies, the world starts to respond differently to you. You stop attracting chaos and start creating from coherence. You stop leaking energy and start generating it. You stop being reactive and start becoming magnetic, not because you've eliminated your shadow, but because you've merged with it. You are no longer afraid of yourself, and that makes you unstoppable. So let me ask you a deeper question. What emotion have you been most afraid to feel? What frequency have you judged so harshly that you've cut yourself off from an entire part of your being? That's your next doorway. That's the shadow temple that holds the code you've been searching for. And when you walk into it, when you stop resisting and start listening, you will find a part of yourself that was never broken, only buried. This is not theoretical, this is energetic, this is real. And the more you dare to go into your forbidden frequencies, the more you will remember what it feels like to be whole, not in the light, but in the full spectrum of your being. Shadow Alchemy: How to Use Your Hidden Power to Bend Reality and create without permission. Now that you've begun to reclaim those forbidden frequencies, the emotions and instincts you were told to silence, what happens next is nothing short of miraculous. You start to notice the world shifting, not because the world itself has changed, but because you have. This is where shadow alchemy begins, where you take all the energy you once used to suppress yourself and turn it into creation. This is the exact moment where your hidden power starts to bend reality, not through force, not through manipulation, but through alignment with your full spectrum self. And this, right here, is the part of the spiritual path that no one talks about because it terrifies people, it disrupts systems, it gives you back the keys. We've been conditioned to believe that you have to ask for permission to create the life you want, that you need credentials, approval, divine timing, or some external sign that you're ready. But your shadow power laughs at those rules. It doesn't wait to be chosen. It remembers that it already is. The moment you stop compartmentalizing your truth, light here, shadow there, and instead bring all of yourself to the table, you break the spell. You exit the matrix of waiting and step into the frequency of willing. And that's when things begin to move. Shadow alchemy is not about pretending to be powerful. It's about remembering that you always were. But the world taught you to disown the parts of you that were too wild, too honest, too fierce, too intuitive. So you split, you fragmented, you built a mask. But every time you denied your shadow, you gave away a piece of your ability to bend reality. Because the universe doesn't respond to performance. It responds to authenticity, not the kind that looks good online, the kind that vibrates from your bones, the kind that says, "This is who I am," even if it scares you, even if it scares me. When you do this, when you step fully into your shadow integrated self, you stop being a seeker and start being a source. You stop chasing manifestations and start channeling them. You don't need vision boards or mantras or rituals to convince the universe. Your frequency becomes the ritual. People start noticing it. They can't quite explain it, but they feel it. You walk into a space and the energy shifts. You speak and people lean in. You make decisions and the road seems to clear in front of you. This is not magic, this is mechanics. Shadow alchemy is simply the science of energetic wholeness. And wholeness is magnetic. But here's the key, you cannot fake this. You can't skip the shadow and expect to embody the power. The power comes through the shadow. It's the integration that creates the frequency. That means you have to stop outsourcing your authority. Stop asking others if your dreams are too big. Stop checking in with systems and traditions that were never built for someone like you. You are not here to fit into the world. You're here to bend it around your truth, and that truth includes your rage, your grief, your desire, your chaos. It's all part of your creative field. And when you stop editing yourself, your field becomes unstoppable. The most powerful creators on this planet are not the ones who are the most enlightened. They are the ones who are the most integrated. They've made peace with their darkness. They've learned to sit with their fears instead of running. They've turned their shame into fuel. And that's what you're being invited into right now, not just to manifest, but to alchemize. To take every painful memory, every judged emotion, every rejected instinct, and turn it into something beautiful, something useful, something real. So I ask you this: what would your life look like if you stopped waiting for permission? What could you create if you brought your full self to the table without apology, without performance, just truth, raw and holy? That's not a fantasy, that's your blueprint. It's already inside you. All you have to do is stop running from the parts of you that were labeled too much, because those parts are not flaws, they are power in disguise. Once you see that, there's no going back. You become the storm and the stillness, the chaos and the clarity, the shadow and the light. A full spectrum being capable of bending reality not because you force it, but because you are it. Final return: how to walk the world with unshakable presence and invisible power. At this point, something irreversible has shifted. You've reclaimed the forbidden. You've entered the places inside yourself that were off limits. You've stopped running from your rage, your grief, your darkness. And now, something ancient has returned to you. Not just clarity, not just confidence, but presence. Unshakable, grounded, magnetic presence. The kind of presence that doesn't need to announce itself because it is itself. This is the final return, the moment you stop trying to become someone and start simply being who you were before the world told you to hide. You see, most people walk through life fragmented. They leave parts of themselves behind in every room they were told they were too loud, too emotional, too intense. They shrink, they perform, they adapt, and in doing so they lose presence. But when you walk as someone who has reclaimed their shadow, when you own every part of yourself without shame, you become whole. And wholeness is impossible to ignore. You don't need to say much. People feel you. You don't need to prove anything. Life bends toward you. Not because you're better, but because you're real. Here's the truth that no one teaches. Power is not always loud. It's not always visible. Sometimes the most dangerous and divine force in the room is the one who says nothing at all. It's the person who has integrated their chaos, the one who knows their shadow and walks with it calmly, in silence. That's what your shadow power gives you. Not just energy, but depth. The kind of depth that makes people stop, that makes them question everything they thought they knew, that makes them remember something in themselves just by being around you. This is what it means to walk the world with invisible power. You're no longer trying to convince anyone. You're no longer leaking energy through the need to be seen or validated. You see yourself, you've witnessed your own fire and didn't flinch. You've sat with your own darkness and didn't run. And now you walk with a kind of calm that can't be faked. A groundedness that can't be copied. A spiritual weight that can't be ignored. But this return, it's not just for you, it's for the world. Because everywhere you go now, you carry a frequency, a vibration that gives others permission to come home to themselves. You become a mirror, a doorway, a reminder. People may not understand you. They may project onto you, resist you, even fear you. But they'll also be moved by you, because your energy doesn't lie. And in a world full of performance, your presence becomes a revolutionary act. You'll notice that you no longer chase things. You magnetize them. Opportunities, connections, resources, they come not out of desperation, but alignment. You no longer ask, how do I get more? You ask, what am I ready to become? Because you understand that reality is not something outside of you, it's something that responds to your internal structure. And the more whole you are, the more coherent your field becomes. That coherence reshapes the world around you. So I ask you, as one final inquiry, what would happen if you never again abandoned yourself? What if every room you entered, you brought your full truth with you, shadow and all? What kind of world would you create if you walked as if nothing in you needed to be fixed, only honored? That's the path now, not to ascend away from the body, the emotion, the mess, but to descend fully into yourself and rise from within. You are not here to be perfect, you are here to be whole. And wholeness includes everything they told you to fear: your fire, your grief, your desire, your depth, your sensitivity, your rage. These aren't flaws, they're features. And when you integrate them, you become the kind of force that doesn't just survive this world, you reshape it. This is your final return, the return to the self that remembers, the self that does not apologize, the self that creates, commands, and expands from within. No more waiting, no more hiding, no more pretending. You've walked through the dark and found your power. Now walk the world like you own it, because you do.